Time now for the news review of this bulletin. Hello, welcome to the news review. The Iranian foreign minister has ruled out the possibility of any talks with the United States, saying that Washington is not trustworthy.
No talks are on the agenda. The Americans have shown that we cannot trust their negotiations, nor can we trust the outcome of negotiations with them. Almost all the world countries have come to realize that if they reach a deal with the U.S., it can breach that agreement anytime it wants.
The top Iranian diplomat urged U.S. authorities to correct their approach rather than seeking excuses. Zarif's comments bear testimony to Washington's breach of its commitments under the 2015 nuclear deal. The U.S. President Donald Trump withdrew his country from the Iran nuclear agreement 2 years ago. The pullout reinstated sanctions on Iran, which had been lifted under the accord. Trump has spoken of negotiating a new deal, but that has been rejected by Iran. Marcus Papadopoulos, publisher and editor at Politics First, joins us from London, and John Stepling is an author and commentator who joins us from Inderoy. Marcus Papadopoulos, why should Iran engage or even mull over talking and entering a negotiation with the U.S.?
Well, one's mind boggles at the idea of Iran entering into negotiations with the U.S. Indeed, any contention that Tehran should start dialogue with Washington is, in my opinion, not only untenable and ludicrous, but also completely hopeless. Because, yes, on the one hand, America is not a party that Iran can trust. But on the other hand, America is a very, very dangerous enemy, not just to the Iranian state, but to the Iranian people. How on earth can Iranian officials sit down with their American counterparts when their counterparts are doing everything within their power to destroy the Iranian state, to destroy the Iranian government, to destroy the Iranian revolution, to turn Iran back into how it was during the days of the Shah, namely a client state of America, to enslave the Iranian people. The Americans have not just placed crippling sanctions on the Iranian economy, they have also encouraged other countries in the world to do the same. The Americans are intimidating other countries from trading with Iran and from investing in Iran. And then we have the American military threat in the Persian Gulf to Iran. And then we have the Americans assassinating Iranian officials. And I'm talking about the murder earlier this year of General Soleimani. So I said at the beginning of my analysis that one's mind boggles at the idea of Iran sitting down with America to talk. It boggles because the Americans want to see nothing but the destruction of Iran and the enslavement of the Iranian people. No self-respecting government, no self-respecting country, no self-respecting people anywhere in the world, in the four corners of the world, would sit down with the representatives of a country that only want to see harm occur to that country and to its people.
John Stepling, you heard a list of things that stand in the way of Iran talking, not stand in the way, but that wouldn't make sense for Iran to talk to the U.S. What reasons do you think Iran would have, if it wanted to enter talks, or should it, in the first place, even think about entering talks with the U.S.?
Well, when the Iranian minister says the United States is an unreliable partner, that wins the most obvious statement of the year award, I think. Of course they're unreliable. They're notoriously unreliable. And they have done nothing but behave in bad faith regards Iran. And as Marcus said, this goes back to the time of the Shah and even before that, The U.S. has meddled in the affairs of this region, specifically in the affairs of Iran, for half a century. And it has never operated in good faith. Neither has the UK, for that matter. So no, of course, there's no reason for them to sit down with the United States. On top of which, I mean, the United States doesn't exactly make a secret of their dislike of Iran. Mike Pompeo has called them, a threat to world peace, the exporter of terror, and demanded that they started, quotes, I think, behaving like a normal country, which, is one of those death of irony statements. But, I don't know what more can be said on this subject. Iran has no reason to sit down with the U.S. The U.S. Clearly is not going to lift sanctions. They're going to try to intimidate the EU countries from finding, trade loopholes to engage with Iran. There's the question of Russia and China still, and the U.S. is, working to subvert any sort of cooperation between those countries, unsuccessfully so far. But look, this is U.S. foreign policy. They just the other day tried to, invade Venezuela yet again. They have sanctions there too. And there's no justification for this. If you ask any of these American politicians, from Pompeo or Pence or Brian Hook or any of these people, what Iran has done that warrants such, hatred and animosity and bellicose rhetoric from the U.S., you won't get an answer, because Iran has done nothing. For all intents and purposes, it has complied with what was asked of it. It has bent over backwards to be cooperative, and it's not invaded or bombed anybody. It hasn't built 900 military bases on other people's soil. There's no answer that you're going to get. So, but again, this is stuff that everybody should know already, I think.
Thank you very much for that, John Stepling, author and commentator, and thank you, Marcus Papadopoulos, publisher and editor at Politics First. And that does it for the News Review. Thanks for tuning in.